key hidden fear that shapes women, and the blind spot that destroys men. Every man thinks he knows what women fear. Ask the average guy and he'll say, loneliness, betrayal, rejection, abandonment. And yes, those fears are real, but they're surface level. They're the symptoms, not the disease. The real fear, the one women rarely speak about, the one that drives their behavior in ways even they can't fully explain, is far deeper. It is primal, biological, and older than civilization itself. It's not about love. It's not even about betrayal. It's about survival. The myth men believe. Men make a fatal mistake in life and in love. They assume women fear the same things we do. We fear weakness. We fear failure. We fear being disrespected or replaced by stronger men. That's our nightmare. But women's nightmare is different. It's more subtle, but just as brutal. Throughout history, a man's survival depended on strength, honor, and production. A weak man could be conquered, enslaved, erased. But a woman, even if weak, could survive if she secured the protection of a stronger man. That reality is burned into female psychology. It's the silent programming behind why validation matters more than logic, why attention feels like oxygen, and why betrayal cuts deeper than the act itself. It whispers, "You are replaceable. You are obsolete. You are invisible." And that's the real fear, irrelevance. The biological clock no one talks about. We've all heard the phrase, "The biological clock is ticking." Most men think it's only about fertility, but that's just the surface. The clock isn't just about children, it's about power, relevance, and survival. A man can be broke at 25, struggling at 30, but if he rises in strength, wealth, and purpose, he becomes more valuable with age. His worth compounds. But a woman's power is front-loaded. Youth, beauty, and fertility give her leverage early in life. That power peaks, and then it declines. She knows it, even if she won't say it. And the fear of that decline shadows her every decision. That's why validation is addictive. That's why attention is currency. That's why 30 feels like panic disguised as empowerment. The biological clock isn't just ticking in her womb, it's ticking in her social value. And it terrifies her. How fear disguises itself. This is why women chase hypergamy. Not because they're cruel or greedy, but because they're trying to secure the best deal before the clock runs out. It's why they test men. Not because they enjoy drama, but because every test asks, "Are you strong enough to keep me from vanishing into irrelevance?" What men see as manipulation, drama, or vanity is often strategy. Fear wearing different masks. Validation seeking proof she's still visible. Hypergamy insurance against decline. Testing survival measurement. Emotional volatility adaptive strategy. It's not cruelty, it's biology. The blind spot that destroys men. Here's where most men fail. They misread women because they project their own fears onto them. They think loyalty, niceness, and love are enough. And when it doesn't calm her fear, they grow bitter. They rage. They call women broken. But women aren't broken. Men are blind. They don't see the fear of irrelevance driving female behavior, so they misinterpret it and lash out. That blind spot is why men lose in relationships, in dating, in society. The mirror men refuse to face. But here's the twist. Men have their own version of the same fear. Women fade into irrelevance through age. Men fade into irrelevance through weakness. Women's battle is against time. Men's battle is against failure. If a woman hits 35, she may still cash out if she's strategic or lucky. But if a man hits 35 without strength, discipline, or purpose, he's done. Forgotten. Invisible. And unlike women, no one is coming to save him. Look around. Entire generations of men numbed by porn, drained by dating apps, lost in video games and junk food, slouched into irrelevance before they even hit their prime. Ghosts while still alive. Weakness is merciless. And irrelevance is death. The choice men must make. So stop whining about women. Stop crying about hypergamy. Stop raging that she tested you and you failed. Her fear should not make you bitter. It should wake you up. Because her fear of invisibility is just a mirror of your own. The question is, what will you do with that knowledge? Strong men stop blaming women and start fixing themselves. They build bodies that command respect, minds that cut through lies, and lives so purposeful they cannot be ignored. Weak men consume. Strong men rise. Weak men fade. Strong men leave legacies. Civilizations collapse when men surrender to weakness. But history remembers the ones who refused irrelevance. The final call. The clock is ticking for women. And for men, every wasted day is another day of weakness. Another day closer to irrelevance. So here's my challenge. Build strength. Build discipline. Build a legacy. Because when the dust settles, the world won't remember the bitter, the broken, or the weak. It will only remember the men who rose. Which one will you be? You've felt it before. That pull in your chest when she walks into the room. The racing heartbeat. The sweat in your palms. That irrational conviction that this woman, this moment, means everything. You call it attraction. You call it chemistry. Some call it love. But what if it isn't? What if that burning desire you mistake for destiny is not attraction but manipulation? Not the cartoonish kind. Not lies whispered in your ear, or some plot scribbled in her diary. No, this is far more subtle, more primal, more devastating. These are the invisible strings women use, consciously or unconsciously, to bend men. Strings woven not in words but in glances, in silences, in the tilt of a head, in the pause before she answers. And the most brutal truth? You never even notice it happening. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." That's exactly what happens when a man becomes enslaved by desire. He thinks it's fate. He thinks it's love. He thinks it's special. But beneath it all, hidden in the shadows of his psyche, something else is pulling the strings. How many men do you know who lost years chasing a woman who never cared? Who emptied their wallets, their time, their souls, only to be discarded like trash? And yet even then they defend her. But she's different. She's special. You don't understand. No, she isn't different. She isn't special. She simply knew which strings to pull. You're about to see what most men will go their entire lives blind to. The 5 psychological tricks women use to capture men's attention, devotion, and resources. These tricks are not inventions. They are instincts, rooted in evolution, sharpened by culture, and reinforced by men's own blind spots. And just like a spider weaving a web, women don't always know they're doing it. But the web still works. And once you're caught, struggling only makes the silk tighter. So let's tear the web apart. Trick 1: Mystery. She doesn't need to speak to enslave you. Sometimes all it takes is the way she looks away. The way her smile lingers, then vanishes like smoke. The pause before she answers your question. That silence isn't accidental. It's a trap. Mystery is not passive. Mystery is power. Carl Jung taught that the psyche projects unconscious desires onto others. In plain terms, you don't see her. You see your own hunger reflected back at you. That's why she feels special. Not because of who she is, but because of what you've painted onto her face. She becomes a blank canvas, and you, desperate for meaning, desperate for beauty, desperate for salvation, paint her into a goddess. You crown her before she's even spoken. And she knows it. Maybe not in words, but instinctively she knows. The less she reveals, the more you'll project. Your mind completes the puzzle. Your heart fills in the blanks. And the cage you're trapped in? You built it yourself. This is why the mysterious woman trope exists in every culture, from Helen of Troy to the femme fatale. The void she creates in you becomes obsession. And the antidote? Brutal clarity. To see her as she is, not as your fantasies wish her to be. Few men ever master this. Most spend their lives worshipping masks. Trick 2: Beauty as a weapon. There's a reason kingdoms have fallen over a woman's face. Why poems, wars, and suicides trace their roots to beauty. Beauty is not neutral. It is not harmless. Beauty is the oldest weapon. Arthur Schopenhauer said, "What is beautiful is the promise of happiness." But beauty doesn't promise happiness. It promises hope. And hope enslaves. Your body reacts before your mind has a thought. Evolution wired you this way. Your ancestors who ignored beauty never reproduced. The ones who chased it passed their curse on to you. But beauty alone isn't the trick. The trick is knowing how to wield it. the dress, the tilt of her head, the pause before she meets your gaze. These are not accidents. These are signals, triggers designed to hijack your biology. And then comes the cruelty. Once she knows she has your attention, she withholds. A smile here, a touch there, then withdrawal. Reward, then denial. Dopamine burns through your veins. You're addicted. Not to her, but to the cycle. The high of her attention. The agony of its absence. This is why men abandon missions. Why they empty kingdoms. Why they lose themselves. Not because of love, but because beauty was weaponized against them. Trick 3: the test. Every man has felt it. The subtle jab disguised as a joke. The dismissive laugh when you reveal a dream. The sudden coldness when you show too much eagerness. She is testing you. Probing. Searching for cracks. Machiavelli wrote that rulers must test their subjects. Women in the realm of desire rule men. And testing is their politics. What she measures isn't who you are, it's how you react. Does her mention of another man make you flinch? Do you puff your chest and compete? Do you sulk? Every reaction is a confession. Do you crumble at the withdrawal of her approval? Do you twist yourself to please her? Then she knows you are weak. And weakness cannot be respected. The paradox? The testing never ends. Even when you pass one, another will come. Because the feminine endlessly seeks the limits of the masculine. The moment you break, respect evaporates. And the only way to win? Stop living for her approval. Stop fearing her shame. Your value cannot rest in her judgment. If it does, you'll lose every time. Trick 4. The illusion of intimacy. It always starts the same. Late-night conversations. Her voice soft, vulnerable. Stories of childhood scars, heartbreaks, betrayals. You feel chosen, trusted, special. But often it is theater. Vulnerability wielded as seduction. Confession as a hook. You step into the role she wrote for you. The savior. The protector. The man who will heal her. And as you pour your soul out in return, you reveal your deepest wounds. She has your heart, but more dangerously, she has your identity. This is transference. You're not loving her. You're replaying your own unfinished story through her. And she benefits, whether she means to or not. How many men have wasted years trying to fix the broken woman, only to be discarded hollow and drained? The illusion of intimacy is not love. It is bondage disguised as closeness. Trick 5. The promise of salvation. The final, most devastating trick doesn't target your body or your pride. It targets your soul. The whisper that says, "If you have me, you will finally be complete." This is the cruelest illusion of all. Because a man's greatest wound is not lust. It is meaning. And the story of salvation through a woman has been fed to men since childhood. The knight redeemed by the princess. The poet inspired by the muse. The broken man healed by her devotion. You believe she is the missing piece. That without her, you are incomplete. But when she leaves, and she will, your very foundation collapses. Divorce courts overflow with men who believed in salvation. Bottles of whiskey are emptied by men who believed in forever. The truth. No woman can save you. No woman was ever meant to. The promise of salvation is the deadliest drug. And the antidote is brutal but freeing. You must save yourself. Because the man who needs a woman to complete him is always a slave. But the man who becomes whole on his own, he cannot be broken, cannot be manipulated, cannot be enslaved. The final revelation. Now you see them. The 5 tricks. Mystery. Beauty. Testing. Intimacy. Salvation. 5 illusions. 5 snares. 5 traps men fall into again and again. Why? Because what you see in her is not her. It is you. Your own wounds. Your own desires. Your own unhealed shadow. You do not fall for her. You fall for yourself, reflected in her. This is not a call to hate women. It is not a call to reject intimacy. It is a call to wake up. To stop worshiping masks. To see clearly. To master yourself. Because the man who saves himself is untouchable. He fears nothing. He needs nothing. He kneels before nothing. That is the man women truly dream of. That is the man who transcends the 5 tricks. Most men will die chasing illusions. Maybe you won't.